Hello, today I'm going to be showing you how to set up the pipe bridge with the telescopic axle. These instructions will also work for the standard axle, just disregard the steps of extending and retracting the axle, obviously. So I just pulled out of the farm with the pipe bridge coming down the road to where we're going to set it up, and right there I just started hitting the extend button on the wireless remote. You want to be moving when you extend the axles to so the tires are rolling as they're sliding out. As I get close to the location where we're going to set it up, I pull off to keep one lane of traffic clear. Grab the cones off the front and set those across the road to have the road closed off during setup. Here I'm undoing the towing straps. They keep the unit more stable for towing. There, I click the strobe lights on. There, I click the beacon flashing lights on. There, I click the flashing lights on. And now I'll be setting the unit perpendicular to the road. Now, if one side of the road does not allow you to drive in like I did there, you can jackknife the unit across the road as well. And get it set up with the rear axle down in the ditch. Now you want to set the rear axle where it will stay the entire time. So there I'm about 6 to 8 feet off the edge of the roadway, and I am now setting the rear parking brakes with the hydraulic hand pump. We added an accumulator on the rear brakes that helps keep the pressure more stable so it doesn't bounce around so much from morning to afternoon with varying temperatures. You want to set that to 1500 psi. I lowered the front leg a little bit and hit the raise button for the front to take the weight off the hitch and pull the hitch pin out. As soon as I get the UTV out of the way, the unit's ready to raise up. So I made sure that the pendulum for the tilt is within reason, within the arrows in the back. When you raise it up, you want to keep the front slightly higher, a minimum of level with the rear. The front does raise faster than the rear, so with the rear being down in the ditch on this one, I had to actually stop the front and do just the rear to get it back up close to level, and then I'll hit both front and rear raise again. I do have three-phase power running on this road, so I'm watching to make sure I don't get too close to those. You want to stay the OSHA recommended clearances to power lines. Once I have it raised up to the heights or the position that I want the legs, I lock the front brake, go back and raise the transport post up into the storage position. And go around back and level the unit up. So I had just a little bit of a tilt here, so undo the ratchet jack lock. I'm loosening the lever up there a little bit so I can get the lock pin out. Put the lock pin in the storage hole. And now I can turn the ratchet jack to get it leveled up, centered, exactly centered. You don't want to send manure through that high up in the air, 20 foot, without the unit perfectly level, just to keep everything balanced. So right there, my tilt indicator says it's straight up and down. Now I'm going to check my height indicator. You can see the puck dropping down from at the top of the screen from the center of the unit. That rope is 16 foot long, so as long as that puck does not touch the roadway when it's all the way down, we are higher than 16 feet. You can see there, it looks like we're about 1.5 feet off the road, so we'll actually be in this setup, we'll be at about roughly 17.5 foot clearance under the unit. Raise the height indicator back up. And now we can set out the traffic cones. The pipe bridge is ready to use. The traffic cones should be set up in a what they call a shoulder taper. So if anybody happens to get off the side of the road when they're approaching the unit, the reflective bands and the orange cones supposed to alert people's attention, so to guide them back onto the road. So you just set the cones at a little bit of an angle to create a taper. You can see the shoulder work sign completely visible there. I had those set up prior to leaving the farm with the pipe bridge. Those, in most cases, are supposed to be set up 500 feet before the unit for the approaching lane of traffic. Those rules do vary a little bit if there's different speeds of roads, but for most backcountry roads, 500 feet before for the approaching lane is going to be the right distance. Here I moved the pipe bridge back out of level a little bit to prepare for lowering it. I just stuck the lock pin in, and now I'm tightening the lock jack, the ratchet jack up, and they're locking the lock nut to keep the ratchet jack tight against that locking the tilt lock pin. Right there I should have lowered the rear transport post, but I forgot about that, and we'll be doing that here in a little bit. Right now I am releasing the front parking brake. So I'm going to start lowering the unit down. And there I realized I didn't have my transport post picked back up yet, so I'll go ahead and raise that up now. And finish lowering the unit down. Again, you want to keep the front level or slightly higher than the rear. We do have a needle valve on the front for the lowering so that it slows it down and keeps it roughly equal to the rear, or maybe slightly slower than the rear coming down. Go ahead and hook up the UTV back to the pipe bridge. Once it is connected, I'll go ahead and hit the front lower button to get the front into the transport position, the tire off the road. I release the rear parking brakes, and now it's ready to pull off the road. And here's a good view from the back showing the axle completely telescoped out. In this position it is 14 feet wide. Here I'll start retracting the axle as I'm driving forward slowly and bring it back down to 8 foot 6 inches wide. It's all done with the wireless remote, the same wireless remote to raise and lower the unit. And you can see there it's fully, both axles are fully retracted down to 8 foot 6 inches. I'll come back and grab the traffic cones and put those in their storage spot by the front leg. And attach the towing straps stabilizes the unit so it trails good behind you going towing to the next job. After the straps are tight, you can go ahead and pick up the shoulder work signs and put those in their stowed position on the rear leg, the transport stand. And don't forget to grease the swivels after every time you lower the unit back down. The swivels have standard shug seals in them, so the seals can seep a little bit during when you charge the line under low pressure. So we want to grease that to make sure we push any liquid that may have gotten past the seal at startup back into the pipe, and keep it obviously keep that manure out of the swivel. Thanks guys.